This episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks is brought to you by Gigabyte's AMD X570 ARS motherboards for third-generation AMD Ryzen 3000 processors. Hit the link in the description below for more details. In this episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks, we're going to be Ryzen 4000 on the mobile. We're going to be getting Doom eternally and investigating NVIDIA DLSS 2.0 by Job next. By Job? By Gum? Who is Job, anyways? I don't even know who that guy is. Hey, it's Dave Altavilla for Hot Hardware. Welcome back to yet another episode of Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks. And clearly today we are 2.5 Geeks. My brain feels like I've had a lobotomy. It's been one of those days. Long day so far. But that's okay. I'm back with my good friends, Marco and Chris. Marco, how you doing today?
Things are going okay. Can't really complain. Was semi-productive. It's a beautiful day outside. My kids are behaving during lockdown. So, really knock on wood, things are as good as they can be right now.
Behaving kids during lockdown. That's good. Chris is you have a kid. It's a big furry kid. Is Freckles behaving herself?
She's behaving quite well. I'm hearing myself. One second. I'll pick it back to you.
Mute the stream, Chris. Mute the stream. These are key. These are key. Well, yes, I have behaving kids, and everybody else back home with me as well. We are staying safe and sound, and we have a new format this week, I might add. We're going to be in a little bit more of a turbo mode. We're kind of going to try and keep these to 20-minute chunks, 20-minute quick hit, some of the best stuff of the week, and a little bit more rapid fire than perhaps you're used to, so that we're more conscious of your time and schedules, your schedules. Yes, that's what's important. And yeah, just trying to keep it crisp and quick. So this week we are going to be talking about AMD's latest mobile launch, Doom Eternal, which is a fabulous game, and NVIDIA DLSS 2.0. And I'm drinking beer, Cosmic Distortion Double IPA. That's the blend of choice for today. Chris, I know, has some sort of Irish something or other.
Yeah, it's Gagan's Smiling Irish Bastard, trying to support the local breweries as much as I can during this time.
There you go. We'll keep it moving. But this is from the Mighty Squirrel Brewing Company, because squirrels, they're fierce. Marco's drinking branched chain amino acids, probably, right?
Nope, I did one better. Just plain old water today.
The H2 and the excellent.
That's it.
Most excellent. All right, well let's dig in, since we're going to try and do this on the fast track, and let's talk about AMD, because they have got some pretty fast stuff these days. Don't you know? Quite the segue, huh? AMD's Ryzen 4000 series mobile processors and the Asus ROG Zephyrus G14. Is that how you say it? Zephyrus? I think so. Notebook platform from the good folks at AMD, and starting out with a mighty 8-core, no less, under the hood. Marco, you spun this baby up and took it for a ride. What'd you think?
I did. So let's show it to everybody. Here it is. Hopefully I'm holding that in the right position. So this is the Zephyrus G14 minus the Animatrix lid. This is the plain lid on.
Marco, we're not getting video from you. You went a little Walt Disney.
I'm seeing him.
I just see him frozen. You're moving, Dave.
Oh wow.
Am I moving for you?
Nope.
Oh, I do see black. That's weird. You went black. No, it's. I'm
All
seeing
right,
it
let me. I will kill the camera and come back. See what happens. Let's see what happens here. Let's turn that off.
I'm seeing his
back
feed.
on. How about now? Am I moving?
Yeah, you're moving.
There we go.
Friggin' Skype, man, ruining my intro, wasting everybody's time. Thanks, Microsoft, for ruining Skype.
Go. Yeah.
But yeah, so there it is. There is the Zephyrus G14. Let me open it up if I can do this. There she is. Absolutely, for a gaming notebook, really good looking machine. Not gaudy, not crazy. It's going to look fine in an office environment, in a classroom, or while gaming. But yeah, so this machine's kind of nuts. You're talking about a 14-inch form factor, under 4 pounds, so about 3.53 pounds, less than 20 millimeters thick. I believe exactly it's like 18.9 or something like that, 18.9 millimeters, very, very thin. But this machine's packing the second fastest 8-core Ryzen 9 4900HS processor with a discrete GeForce RTX 2060 Max-Q GPU inside with its own dedicated, 6 gigs of memory. And then, of course, NVMe SSD, 802.11ax Wi-Fi, all the goodies that you'd expect from a gaming machine, except for wired Ethernet for some reason, whatever. But yeah, so, and it sells for $14.99. So if you look at the benchmarks, though, what makes it really, really interesting and special is in multi-threaded workloads, it absolutely crushes every Ultrabook and every, 14-inch machine on the market because you have those 8-core CPUs. Before, if you wanted a higher core count Intel processor, you needed a massive, gaming notebook or desktop replacement type notebook. Now AMD, because of the 7-nanometer manufacturing process and all the power optimizations they've made to the processor with Zen 2, you can now get an 8-core in, basically an Ultrabook form factor. So a multi-threaded test, absolute monster. Single-threaded, it actually hung with Ice Lake. So really strong single-thread performance as well. And really, for me, the most stunning part was battery life. Now, this machine does have a massive battery in it, 76 watt-hour battery, which is really big for this size machine. It got nearly 10 hours of runtime on our video rundown test. So that was the top of the charts. I was like, all right, let's see what happens with something nutty. I ran 3 different gaming rundown tests as well. In gaming, while basically hammering the CPU and GPU, 2 hours on battery with, I think, the silent profile. That's pretty awesome for a gaming notebook. So, like, all around, super fast, super portable, good-looking machine, great CPU performance, especially in this form factor. The only caveats are the fans can get kind of loud in the performance profile. And the way Asus, or maybe it's a combination of Asus and AMD, tuned the power profile for the CPU, it will get really hot, like mid-90 C range, before the fans go nuts. And then the fans pull it back down, but it'll throttle about 14% to hit those speeds. But if you're not doing crazy long, heavy workloads, if you're doing bursty stuff, that doesn't matter. This is only for long, sustained workloads. I did 10 straight Cinebench runs with no break, just to hammer it. And yeah, man, I mean, really nice machine. If you understand that to get this kind of horsepower in a small machine, you're gonna have to deal with a little bit of fan noise and heat.
Yeah, well, that's part of the deal in a thin and light machine. So this is 3.8 pounds or 3.7 something pounds, 3. Right?
3.53.
Yeah, so still under 4 pounds, nicely under 4 pounds. RTX 2060 on board, and you could game for 2 hours on battery.
Yeah. So I did the PC Mark 10 gaming rundown test. So it basically loops the 3D Mark asset. So it's simulating a game so you can get the exact same workload, but It's hitting the CPU and GPU, constantly looping graphics tests. And I tested 3 different power profiles because I basically tested all of the power profiles available on battery. And under the default profile, which is labeled silent in Asus's software, it got 2 hours gaming. That's pretty awesome.
What's frame rate like on battery? Does it drop off a little bit?
That particular, yeah, I mean, it will because it throttles the GPU, but that particular test doesn't show frame rates. It's just a battery rundown, so I can't really say exactly how much
you bled off. But yeah, but it looked fluid and playable anyways, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. And gee, what are your thoughts about the prospect of an Ultrabook class machine? So integrated graphics. I know you looked at the Vega graphics performance as well. I think it's an 8-core Vega in this chip, right?
Yes, 8-core Vega. Yep.
Yeah. So integrated graphics versus, let's say, Intel, maybe Ice Lake graphics, I guess, Gen 11. What's that like for the Ultrabook? I guess form factor potential. We know this is a gaming notebook, and this is a different ball of wax with that RTX 2060. But what about the potential for AMD with Ultrabooks? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the thoughts are it's going to be really strong. Now, I wouldn't probably throw an 8-core 35 watt chip in it in an Ultrabook, but obviously AMD has the U series, the lower power series. But in terms of the IGP on this particular notebook, where it has some thermal headroom, the Radeon IGP in FutureMark Night Raid did a little over 16,000, whereas Intel Iris Plus on the 1065 G7, Ice Lake based processor is not quite 11,000. So according to 3D Mark, about a 60% advantage for AMD in that particular graphics test. Now, that test is, heavily influenced by memory bandwidth, and this machine has, fast DDR4, LPDDR4X memory. Yep. If you look at, now I don't have Ice Lake numbers for this test, but if you go and look at the Middle Earth at 1080p testing with the IGP, it's barely faster than the previous gen Vega. It's faster at the low settings, and then it's actually slower at medium and high. Now, what I think that is, so AMD made this claim, 59% better per CU performance with this new GPU, yada, yada, yada. But the nuance there was that was just based on a 3D Mark score, and the 3D Mark score is going to factor in physics and CPU. I think if you're purely compute bound and memory bandwidth isn't allowing it to stretch its legs, if you're purely compute bound, it's not going to be much faster than the Vega and the previous gen Ryzens. So it really depends what you're doing. But in terms of just using the machine, you have a new media encoder, so faster encoding, for watching video, stuff like that. It is, a full Vega GPU, so you get the benefits. I know some people are going to say maybe not a benefit with their recent driver woes, but you're running full Radeon graphics drivers, so compatibility across games are going to be very good. Just really a strong product all around from AMD.
What's retail on that thing?
$1,449 for the particular model we tested.
Okay, 14-inch display, RTX 2060. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, and you said when you're purely compute bound. Now let's make sure we make that distinction for folks. You're talking about GPU compute.
Correct.
Yeah. And so when you're when the shaders are being pushed and you're, it's all on the GPU, things are going to saturate there. And you're saying it's roughly on par from what you're saying in the average game engine, versus the previous gen Vega.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised. It's probably, even though it's clocked higher, probably going to be situations where it might be slower than the full, I think, what was it, 10 CUs? Yeah. In the previous gen, there will be situations where it might even be slower because it just lacks the 2 compute units.
I wonder if we're going to see like a little bit more balanced CPU GPU mixes from AMD, and I'm trying to think what the SKUs might be below that. What's the 4800? Is that Vega 8 as well? It would be nice to see maybe like a 6-core, 10-core, right? 6-core CPU, 10-core GPU.
Well, I think the 8-core GPU, I think, is the full complement. Yeah, it's funny. So as you go down AMD stack, you have the 4800 has the 8 cores. Yeah. Now, if I'm talking about U series SKUs too, as you step down to the lower power ones,
15 watt.
Yeah, then there's 7 graphics cores in the 47, 6 in the 4600 and 4500, and 5 in the 4300. So like they're scaling everything back as you go up and down the stack, not just CPU cores.
Gotcha. Yeah, interesting. And obviously there's the thought that it's going to compete with anything Intel has to offer at those versus Ice Lake at those lower power SKUs. At least you would think they would have done their homework there, But it sounds like what makes for a really compelling gaming platform that doesn't have to be as big and bulky. What are your thoughts about? And then we'll move on. What are your thoughts about all Radeon, all AMD, AAA as they call it, type platforms?
I think it's going to be pretty awesome the way, because if you take a 5500 or 5600, a lower power GPU than a 2060, and then you factor in AMD Smart Shift technology, which works at the firmware level, so it will be less software load in Windows too. I think it could be really interesting. Now we haven't tested that yet, but based on what I'm seeing with this, I'm really looking forward to testing that. Yeah. That could be, a machine theoretically. Let's say you could game, because now you also have, the frame rate limiting GPU chill and the Radeon software, like all this stuff that would allow you to save power on the graphics side, but still have playable frame rates. Now imagine, one or two notches down on the CPU side, let's say a 6-core, still plenty fast for a notebook. And then additional power optimizations on the GPU side with a lower power GPU, and then keep a nice big fat battery. Maybe you can game for 4 hours. Like, that's awesome if that works out to that way. Now I'm speculating, but that could be really cool.
Yep. 1080p gaming, maybe a 14-inch display, maybe still keep it under, maybe it's under 3.5 or 3.5 pounds or thereabouts. That could make for a very compelling, really sort of workhorse, premium SKU, but not necessarily a gaming machine, but a real upper end premium SKU Ultrabook with some extra chops, right?
That could really be a machine that does every single thing well, like literally a no compromise notebook. It can do anything you want well.
And shame on me for using the Ultrabook term if it was all AMD, because that's an Intel-ism. But you get the drift. A premium quality, full-featured notebook that isn't a boat anchor. Not that this is, but is still nice and svelte, that has that kind of balanced power. I look forward to it. Yep, should be good. Chris, any thoughts before we move on?
Well, based on the 3000 series, I wasn't expecting to be that impressed by these chips coming out because the 3000 series wasn't that noteworthy. So just to see the level of improvement here, that it is going toe-to-toe, beating Intel in places, is, well, impressive.
Yeah. No, good stuff for sure. Good stuff to see the parity from a single thread performance standpoint. The architecture is clearly, very competitive now. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see in the weeks ahead what AMD does with this platform. They've talked about 100 SKUs or 100 design wins, I should say, rather, plus 100 plus design wins for Ryzen 4000 mobile. So we'll see what comes out in the weeks ahead, and hopefully be able to test them and kick the tires on them at HotHardware.com as well. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about something that I've actually had time in my quarantined state to actually play a little bit for a change. I actually have been gaming, which I haven't gotten enough time to do in a long time. And that's Doom Eternal, demon-killing gameplay and GPU performance. Our good friend Ben Funk put together this review, and he steps through the wonder that is id's new Doom engine, and it is absolutely it's eye candy for sure. It's a lot of fun. It's very Doom-like. It's pure evil at every turn, and the graphics are just id Tech. I think we're talking id Tech 5, right? I'm trying to think what id software engine we're on right now. Shame on me for not knowing that, but suffice it to say is it's beautiful. And man, talk about fun gameplay. From plasma cannons to the good old chainsaw, the chainsaw massacre of demons, which the first time you do it is like, whoa. I have to say it's a lot of fun, and I don't get a lot of time to game, so you can just hop right into this thing. That's the beauty of it. You need some strategy to get through some of the tougher levels and beat some of the big bad guys, but it's a heck of a lot of fun to just jump in and throw down with. Marco, have you fired it up yet?
So I did. I didn't really play in depth. I went through like the first mission just to give it a shot. And what struck me, one, since I'm such a nut job and I still play like Left 4 Dead when I have 20 minutes to game, and that thing's lit. What is Left 4 Dead, like 11 years old now? Something
yeah.
To see the graphics in this game are freaking awesome. But it's so buttery smooth, like it's so well tuned. I think it's id Tech 7 actually for this game.
id Tech 7, yeah.
So well tuned. Even if you look at Ben's numbers, even on like mid-range hardware, you could still get playable frame rates at fairly high quality settings. It's just like it just runs so well. It's so immersive because of that. It's a really cool game, definitely.
Yeah, and shame on me, I should have known that the id Tech 7, the engine part. It's that's absolutely what was my first thought was, dang, this thing is smooth. It looks fantastic. The textures are all sharp. The detail is amazing everywhere. Like, you literally just want to kind of stop and look around and check out, the dark underbelly of the Doom world. You don't have time because there's bad guys coming in every turn, but yeah, it's super beautiful. And then the frame rate is like off the hook, and they're getting, I don't know, 1080p ultra preset for a Radeon RX 5500 XT at 102 frames per second.
Yep.
And so, hats off to id Software. They have always set the bar for game engine efficiency, and id Tech 7 it's a marvel. When you look at even Unreal Engine, I think it tends to be a little bit more challenging for the GPU when you look at the level of fidelity in Doom versus Unreal. I mean, Unreal's a gorgeous engine too. It's comparable, right? Would you say that it's kind of on that level?
I mean, I don't know in terms of engine features. I understand because of the support and the widespread use of Unreal, and because it's DirectX, whereas id Tech 7 is Vulkan. It's
right.
I think Unreal is just way more, how do I word it? I think it's got the more features that everyone from, budding developers to senior developers will want in like a one-stop shop.
Yep.
Whereas, id Tech 7 is really tuned for those type of games. But I mean, it's obviously leading edge tech, and it's like you can't create visuals like that without something crazy high end.
Yeah, you have to experience it. And the beauty of it is available to the mainstream gamer. And Ben actually stepped through a performance guide, an optimization guide for performance as well. We'll drop that link in the chat. And so if you're talking about like a 4 gig, graphics RAM type card, you're talking about high preset. You don't want to mess with ultra preset too much, but it's still playable at 1080p. And then when you get up into the higher resolutions, 1440p. Do we have 4K? Yeah, 4K still. 4K ultra preset and a 5600 XT is pulling off 44 frames per second. Totally playable at 4K.
Well, maybe not totally playable, but you just crank it down a little bit,
Yeah, I mean, people want the 60 frames per second. That's the sweet spot, obviously. But let's face it. I mean, 44 is still playable in that game, but it's not optimal. You'd probably dial it back if you wanted all the fast twitch response time you could get. Chris, have you tried Doom yet? I think you did, actually. I know Brittany did.
Yeah. Sorry. A little. You caught me off guard there. So we played through. We switched off on the stream we did last week or whenever that was. Now time is kind of an illusion under this self-isolation protocol. But all the more reason to play some Doom, right? So I mean, the game is awesomely smooth. I don't think we can really drive home just how smoothly the game plays. So that's a lot of fun. And during the stream, I was playing with a 970, and despite the stream's choppiness, the gameplay was actually smooth even at that level. So even kicking it back a couple generations to a mid-tier card, still beautifully playable. I think it was on medium or high settings, still looked great. Now you've drop shipped me a Titan XP, so we'll have to throw some more muscle behind it and see how that steps up. But the other nice thing I was admiring in Ben's review is the graphics card value guide that he gives, where he's actually plotting the performance per dollar of the different cards tested and at different frame rates, so that you can, if you're shopping for a new card and you have Doom on the mind, it can really help you make that decision for where you want to be based on your monitor, your resolution, and of course your budget. So major props for that, Ben.
Yeah, good stuff for sure. What did he say? Was it the 5700 XT, which was he deemed to be the clear value leader when you're talking about performance? 2070 Super, these are more powerful cards for sure. They're going to cost you $100 more, but when you talk about frames per dollar, which is a plot that he put together, and he's got it plotted for 1080p and 1440p. 5700 XT is hard to beat. I think also a 2060 Super might be a good one to consider as well from a value standpoint. Right. Sound about right, Marco?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. All right. Well, check it out, and then check out Ben's optimization and tips guide. I'll go ahead and throw this in the chat right now, and also his review. I'll throw that in the chat right now. Good stuff. If you're battling CPU limitations, he's got tips for that. Things to turn down, like reflections, direction occlusion, shadow quality, things like that. If you're CPU limited, if you're GPU graphics RAM limited, there's ways to optimize there too, and that's generally just turning down the graphics level settings. But good stuff from the folks at id Software. Doom Eternal. Fun again in the land of Doom. It brings back memories. How long ago did the first Doom come out? I can't remember. That was
a long time ago.
That was good stuff. We were playing it on 3DFX cards, right, or something like that.
Before the Amiga died, Doom was released.
There you go. All right. Well, let's move on to one more thing, graphics related, and that's the folks at NVIDIA investigating DLSS 2.0 in MechWarrior 5 and Control. Again, the Magic Man, Ben Funk, fired this one up. And NVIDIA has come out with the second iteration, obviously, 2.0 of DLSS, deep learning super sampling. And now it has made some great strides in image quality as well as some satisfying gains in performance. Marco, I know you stepped through this a little bit as well. What are your thoughts there? DLSS, is it free of compromises now? Because I know before, folks were saying things are looking a little blurry. What's up?
Yeah, so we should qualify that I think as of today, there's 2 games that have official support for DLSS 2.0, and those 2 games, Ben looked at them both, but 2 is not a huge sample. But with that said, if you talk about DLSS 1.0, some of the complaints were it was tougher to implement because game developers had to send their assets to NVIDIA. NVIDIA ran their assets through their AI supercomputer to generate the samples necessary for DLSS. Then it had to be implemented, and lots of games showed funky visual artifacts or some softness or just some weird graphical glitches. So it wasn't, although performance was much better with it enabled because it was rendering at a lower resolution, sometimes there were some quality compromises. DLSS 2.0 appears to have literally addressed everything and cranked up the quality significantly. So now game developers, you still have to specifically implement DLSS in your game. So games that had 1.0 still have to be updated to support 2.0. But now you don't have to send your assets to NVIDIA. NVIDIA is using general workloads in their AI to basically create the samples necessary for upscaling at such high quality. But the image quality output from DLSS 2.0, not only is image quality really tough to distinguish from native resolution, performance at the highest quality mode with DLSS 2.0 is better than the performance is better with infinitely better image quality than DLSS 1. So it's like an across the board upgrade. Is really, versus the first iteration, there's no downside at all. And if you look at Ben's numbers, you see a jump like in MechWarrior 5, right? If you look at 1440p without DLSS, right? So just the game running native res, 35.8 frames per second average on a RTX 2060. But turn on DLSS 2, even in the high quality mode where it's really tough to see a difference. Yeah, you can pixel peep and find something, but now your performance jumps to 51 frames per second. And then you drop it into balanced mode and you're up over 67.3 frames per second. So you take a game that was maybe not quite perfectly smooth and you make it perfectly smooth with minimal, if any, image quality compromise. That's a huge deal. And the same kind of holds true as you go to the 2080. You just obviously get more performance. And in Control, Ben actually looked at Control when it launched. So he had lots of, image data to sort of compare. And I think it was he said it's his favorite game of the year. So he played this game. He knows it inside and out. And you can see these funky image quality artifacts with 1.0 that are not only completely gone with 2.0. I think he specifically says, what's the wording he uses? Hold on. DLSS 2 on performance looks even better than the old version on high. So it's like,
Yeah.
like really just good stuff across the board from NVIDIA here.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at I'm looking at his control DLSS shots, and you look at 1.0 versus 2.0, and it's night and day. It looks like you're looking through, on DLSS 1.0, you're looking at control through like cheesecloth. It's just super blur when you zoom in on the pixels. If you're zooming out and moving out in the game, maybe with 1.0, you may not have noticed it all that much. You enjoyed the extra frame rate, and but when you actually zoom in and look at the image quality, it's night and day. It looks so much clearer in 2.0. And I guess really the hook for this thing is all about how many more games they can enable with DLSS 2.0. And you would think, how many games do we have out, that were optimized for with 1.0? Was it like I don't know.
It's a small number, but I don't remember it exactly.
Yeah, a dozen or something like that. They need to get this out there more. The nice thing about DLSS, and I think it's sort of, what they pitched it to us in the press early on was, hey, flip on ray tracing. Yes, you're going to get a performance hit, but flip on DLSS, you're going to get some of that performance back. This does that, brings the image quality back as well, along with additional performance. And so it's just another sort of feather in their cap to say, let's keep the the effects and image quality going up higher and higher with ray tracing. And oh, by the way, we can give you some performance back with DLSS if we get to optimize your visuals. It's nice to hear that they're not requiring game developers to send it in. They're sort of feeding the beast on their own, I guess, is what I'm sensing with that. I'm not sure what the actual language was on that comment from them. Do you know what the official wording was? But
actually, I think I can probably read the quote here. Oh no, it's in Paul's piece. Let me just jump to Paul's piece 1 second. I have it right in front of me.
Yeah.
NVIDIA's wording was a new AI network more. Oh no, that's for using the tensor cores. That's where the performance comes from. But when they're talking about the all right, DLSS 2 has the potential to be more broadly supported in games because, unlike before, it does not require training for each new game. DLSS 2 is trained using non-game specific content on a generalized network that works across games.
There you go.
So basically, NVIDIA's got so many samples already. They've just been sampling so much stuff that the AI model is getting smart enough to just work.
Yeah,
is what that amounts to.
Right. Yeah, very cool. DLSS looks like the most exciting thing in gaming right now. I'm looking forward to it more than ray tracing, says RMD2U. So there you go. Yeah, I would agree. Well, the nice thing about it is free performance is good if you can get visual quality. And Ben showed the pixels, and at least these two game engines, Ben showed the pixels versus standard anti-aliasing the original game at the same resolution settings. We know that DLSS does certain things with sampling at lower resolution and then using the AI to perfect the image. But relative apples to apples settings, yeah, you're getting the performance, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, man.
All right. Chris, you gonna play with that? Oh, you can't. Unfortunately, you need RTX for that, Chris. You have a GTX.
And I was muted stream side, but yeah. So I am on the Titan now, but no RTX for me. So I don't get to try it out yet. But I am looking forward to giving it a spin because free performance is always beneficial.
Yeah. We'll have to get you the RTX class GPU, and you get you playing with that for sure. And one of these days we'll be playing with some more giveaways, and then we'll have to close this thing out. We just got through wrapping up the giveaway last month with the good folks at Asus and Alienware. Gave away an awesome 16-core 3950X powered Alienware Aurora Ryzen edition machine, RTX 2080 Ti on board. The thing is just gorgeous. We'll have another giveaway coming up soon. We're looking at system builders, so stop by hothardware.com for that, right, Marco?
Absolutely. We got to figure it out, but yeah, we're not going to stop the giveaways, so we'll keep them rolling.
We're trying to keep them rolling every month. It's going to take us another week or so to get somebody else lined up, but stay tuned. We're giving away some great hardware at hothardware.com to give back to the community and to help everybody out in these times of quarantine where you need to make sure you've got the right tools to entertain yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
I've had 2 people reach out because they're so bored. They want to build themselves new machines. So I helped 2 people with their list of hardware and my recommendation. So hopefully we get some more PC gamers out of this.
There you go. If you got to stay home, you might as well game, right?
There you go.
Stop by hothardware.com where you can find us on the web, twitter.com/hothardware, youtube.com/hothardwarevids. Thumbs up, subscribe, please. Would like to join you. We're going to make this a little bit quicker hitting. I think we ran about 25 minutes today. We started late. We're going to keep it to like 20-minute segments. Going to try and hit Wednesday at 5:30. And who knows, we may jump in for more random stuff as exciting topics come up in the news and we have to react. We may hop in here on a moment's notice. So thanks, everybody, for stopping by. We'll catch you in the next one.